Hello, Science 30. Welcome to our video on the process of blood clotting. So we are on the bottom of our notes on page 8, and we're going to be talking about how does your blood clot. Now, there are some people in the world that cannot have their blood clotting because they lack the factors that initiate a blood clot. And those people then can bleed internally, or if they cut themselves, they can continue to bleed. So it's really, really dangerous. We're not going to go into really great detail about this. We're just going to keep it pretty simple with the basics. So what we're going to be talking about is this cascade of enzyme reactions. So essentially just kind of like this flow of enzyme reactions that are triggered by platelets. So platelets are the little tiny pieces within our blood that when they reach the surface of our skin, because there's a cut, are going to cause this to happen. Okay, so this is just an example of the cascade effect, which we're going to talk about. You don't need to write it down. I'm just showing you. So there's two players in this. These are the enzymes. There's prothrombin and fibrinogen. Okay. In our notes, we're going to write down what they do. So fibrin is a thread that winds around your platelet plugs. So when you cut your finger or an arm and those platelets reach the surface, their goal is to try and stay at the surface because they're a little bit sticky, but not really. So they try to block that damaged area of the blood vessel. Okay. They provide the framework for the clot. So the platelets make the clot. Okay. Now, as your platelets are then wound together with fibrin, they eventually will trap the red blood cells underneath them, and that's what makes your healing cut look red. So how does this process work? So below it says draw the picture of the process of blood clotting. You do not need to draw this picture. You can just write the steps, or you can write the steps and then draw the very last picture if you want. I'm just giving a visual to help aid so you can see what I'm saying. So we're going to pretend this is inside your body, close to the surface of your skin. We have a capillary, and then those are your body cells or your skin cells. Inside your capillary, which remember our capillaries are really, really tiny, there are red blood cells flowing in single file line. Each red blood cell is surrounded by a bunch of platelets. That's the little blue stuff you see here. Okay, so we have a cut occur. So you can see that the capillary has been ruptured and the blood is able to get outside of the capillary. This is where the platelet's job is now to rush to this where the damage is and plug that space. So on your notes in step 1, it says draw the picture of the process of blood clotting. You're just going to write step 1, platelets are exposed to body tissue. Okay, so once you've written that down, we can talk about what's going to happen after your platelets are exposed. So the platelets signal to each other to start filling in that space that's been opened to create a temporary clot. So that's step 2. Write down step 1. Now we're writing down step 2. There is the clot. So now we're at the point where the platelets have tried to stop the red blood cells from escaping, but they're not strong enough. So what do we need to do next? We need to reinforce this clot with fibrin. This is fibrinogen, and this is fibrin. Okay, fibrinogen is really, really, really protected by this lovely little cap here because these ends are sticky. We want to stick them together like that to create a rope-like structure. All right, so that's where we're going with this. You do not need to write this down, just giving you a visual to see what is our job. So the platelets are there, but we really want to fill that in and reinforce it. So we're going to make this long string called fibrin. So step 3, we take prothrombin and turn it into thrombin. And that's all you need to say is prothrombin turns into thrombin. What does that look like? If this is prothrombin, we just move off the little tiny caps. Bing, boom, 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 like that. Take them all off. So it kind of goes from a square to a puzzle piece that's missing some parts. Now, we need prothrombin to remove the calcium ions because thrombin, which is sticky now, will steal the cap off of fibrinogen. So that's what step 4 is saying. It's saying thrombin will take the cap from fibrinogen to make its open, sticky end. So here's thrombin. And this end that is capping fibrinogen, we're just going to steal it. And then we're going to keep stealing it over and over again until we have this long line of fibrin. Okay, so that's step 4. Thrombin steals fibrinogen's cap to make fibrin. The very last step is now the fibrin can start weaving itself around the platelets to create that clot. All right. And that is how your blood clots. So you have exposure to air, platelets plug the hole, thrombin helps make fibrin, and then fibrin kind of sticks all the platelets together so that you will stop bleeding. So it looks like that under a microscope. So you can see here's how the red blood cells would all get stuck, okay, behind that fibrin sticky mesh. Here's our platelets trying to protect, okay. So when your notes, after you've written the 5 steps down, so you should have 5 steps, you can go back and pause and write them all down. You can then just draw this little picture to maybe help reinforce the idea of here's my platelets, here's my fibrin. All right. If you have any questions, please let me know.